And yes, before you ask, this is just what Xerix does, the search for the worst cartoon. But I'm calling it the search for the weirdest cartoon because cartoons aren't just judged based off quality. Before we start the series, here are just a few ground rules. One, the shows have to be mostly animated. I mean, obviously, this is the search for the weirdest cartoon. But this does mean you get some live action programming. Two, we will only discuss shows that aired on TV or web series, like, say, Ed's World or It's Fred, which means, like, no comic books or anything like that, because they're not really cartoons. And specials also count under this category. And three, this cartoon series will be discussing the general quality of cartoons and their weirdness. Also, I'll try to review cartoons I have DVDs of. So yeah, with that said, onto this video. Now, in order to give context for this cartoon came out in the year 2016 and was meant to be a revival of the 2009 toy line, the Zhu Zhus, which had been previously discontinued in 2013. But this show managed to not do that, as the next year the toys and the show ended. So, what even is this cartoon about? Well, seeing that it's on this show, it's freaking unhinged. First of all, let's introduce the characters. First, we'll start with the four hamsters that sort of run the show. First hamster is Chunk, and we're going with my personal favorite and least favorite. And all of these hamsters were first introduced in the Quest for Zoo movie, which was released in 2011 in 3D. Now, Chunk is a fashion expert, according to the show, and he also has a taste in food, it seems, from one of his many running gags. Then we have Mr. Squiggles. Basically, if Bill Nye was a hamster, he always talks about science, and he has many inventions, although they've never been tested, according to the show. Then we have Num Nums. Basically, she doesn't think anything's a good idea, even when it kind of is. And there's really nothing to her, to be honest. But she is at least better than Pipsqueak. Pipsqueak, on the other hand, she just has main character energy, and characters who have this energy usually suck. Pipsqueak always gives Frankie, like, not good advice. She always tells her, let's try this, and then it doesn't work. I get it so that the other characters can fix it, but, maybe Pipsqueak could actually do something useful. But I probably explained the hamsters as good the show did, to be honest. Or at least its theme song. Now let's talk about the main character. The one, the only, Frankie. In the original series, her name was Polly. But then they redid the episodes later on when the show came to North America. Or it might have been after the show came to North America. I honestly can't really tell. And all of the DVD episodes just have the name Frankie. So Frankie's what I'm going to call her from now on. Now, Frankie, she's kind of like one of those mindset characters where if she wants to do it, she'll do it, no matter what the situation calls for. And her hamsters like to help on this adventure. Now, let's talk a little about Frankie's parents, specifically the dad, because he has the same voice actor as Sean from Total Drama Pocket Tail Island. Take that as you will. And the Zhu Zhus was made by Nelvania, which is owned by Course, which they've done a bunch of work I could cover one day, including girl stuff, boy stuff, which, yes, I'm recording this in a blizzard, and is probably the original inspiration for 16. Now, before we review the show itself, we're gonna take a look at how it did. Now, this show has a 5.5 on IMDb, which isn't too great, but hey, it did get at least 26 full episodes. Same can't be said for Making Fiends, even though I like that show. Now, the Zhu Zhus aired on Disney Channel in the United States, where, again, it was originally called Polly and the Zuzu Pets, until just simply being renamed the Zhu Zhus, where they also got a Hotel Transylvania series on Disney Channel around the same time by Nelvania, which both of which only lasted a season because U.S. networks hate Canadian shows because they screwed them over all the time, except for Total Drama. But even then, the newest seasons didn't air in the U.S. yet. And over in Canada, this show aired on YTV, whereas one of the later YTV originals didn't even have the originals logo at the end, so you could tell they were basically done. Now, side tangents aside, this show is unironically pretty good. Now, here's how I am going to review this show's episodes. For one, I am reviewing 6 episodes from each of the 3 discs, and by that I mean 6 episodes in total, because one of the episodes is going to be from disc 1 from disc 2, and 2 from disc 3, because episodes are usually 11 minutes long, and for disc 3 there's 2 double-length episodes that I will show. So yeah, and plus if you wanted to hear a review on 26, you would be bored out of your mind. So, what else do we need to talk about before reviewing our episodes? Oh yeah, did I mention that this was one of the last things the Zhu Zhus brand ever did before they killed off the brand? Speaking of the Zhu Zhus brand, Sepia Limited did it. And now they make Cats versus Pickles. And I thought Skibidi Toilet was the weirdest thing our minds could consume. Do you really want to keep hearing me talking? Or do you want me to review some freaky episodes? Because honestly, I just want to review some episodes. But then again, I want this video to seem longer than it is, so with that said, let's now do Disc 1's episode. Okay, and when I mean certain episodes, I'm just gonna pick random episodes I find interesting. So it may not actually be the number I said, but hey, who the heck actually cares? First off is the first episode of the whole series, Happy Bounce-iversary, which sees Frankie try to throw an anniversary party for her parents. And they're plumbers. That's what the show tells us, even in some later episodes. And their plumber outfits seem very familiar. So, near the beginning of the episode, Frankie asks their parents, what are they gonna do for their anniversary? And they literally just said eat and watch television, which Frankie points out is very boring, even though it actually seems kind of normal for a Canadian family. For any Canadians out there, let me know if this is normal. Now, Frankie, appalled by this, calls Pipsqueak while she's just chilling in her cereal bowl, which is very weird, by the way, calls over the hamsters, and they do some sort of, like, appearance song, which I wish they would have done every episode. That would have actually made the show, cool, I guess. It would have been funny at the very least. But yeah, the Zhu Zhus are gonna throw an anniversary party for their parents. Let's see how horribly this could go. So with the power of an 8-year-old and 4 hamsters at the scene, we start decorating. And by the way, in this episode, the hamsters get offended when they're called people for some reason. Just wanted to point that out. I'm sure no one cares, but I care, I guess. So then, without Frankie's parents' permission, they canceled the sitter and their dinner reservation, which that's not even the part I'm worried about. That's the part that these hamsters could use phones and talk to humans. Now, I know they dance and sing, but I thought it was like a Garfield situation where they couldn't talk to humans, but apparently they can, which is kind of weird. And after that debacle, Frankie recommends pre-dinner refreshments, and that's the normal part. The weird part is when Mr. Squiggles and Chunk play with glasses, and they break. But these aren't like glasses you wear on your face. Not that type of glass. These are like normal cup-sized glasses, and they're twice the size of them, which means they're probably around the height of an PS2, which is freaky, considering that like the humans are probably giants in this universe. Then two hamsters mentioned previously decided to make a war crime of a drink of mayonnaise, ketchup, which is mayo chup by Heinz, and two eggs with shells intact, shaked up into some sort of drink. I get they're hamsters, they probably don't know what real ingredients are. Well, probably besides chunk, but at least do a little better than that. That's worse than baked beans and pineapple on pizza. And Frankie decides to play an absolute bop after making a pun saying that sorry they missed their wedding, but she wasn't born yet for the Pamplemouse's wedding. And yeah, that's all I can really say about that scene. Then they head off to the castle bouncy house, which low key kind of sounds like a freaking cool idea to be made in real life. With unironically, yeah, and the only menu item there, yeah, sandwich surprising. At least it's probably better than BK's food. Then when Shug trips over one of the spikes, he unplugs them, only to realize they were holding the castle down. Now, the castle's supposed to be filled with air, right? Just like the other stuff, because it was filled with a pump. But for some reason, it flies away. In a castle should not be closed like that. There usually is a fan. Now, I don't know why they decided to do this, but plot convenience, I guess. I just want to point out that the stupid thing that Pipsqueak says is that they're probably too panicked to scream. By them, she means Frankie's parents, which I have no idea why she would say this or why that was necessary. But anyway, the rest of the episode is really just them getting the house down. And yeah, that's the episode. Sorry that ended kind of anticlimactically, but that's gonna be a theme with most episodes. Now the next episode I'm gonna talk about is Say It, Don't Spray It. Which the only reason why I'm really including this one is because it's the double episode with the first one. Happy Bounce Anniversary. This one sees the Zhu Zhus adopting a skunk. Story goes here is that the zoos were playing in the yard. Should I say zoos or Zuzus? I'm just gonna say zoos from now on. So as I was saying, the zoos were playing in the yard when suddenly a skunk followed them inside their tube, which they don't notice until it's a little too late. And as Anthea P said it, which was also kind of inspiration for this video, Frankie's kind of wild and unpredictable, which is what gets the skunk startled. Yeah, that's what that is. Yeah, but even though Num Nums made a very convincing presentation, they can't keep the skunk. Dude, the dad getting sprayed by a skunk in like the 5th grade or something. Yeah, I don't know how getting sprayed by a skunk feels, but it's probably not pleasant. It's probably like reviewing LJN games. And the only notable thing that happens in the episode after is the Zhu Zhus get lost in the woods. And Frankie actually starts to get kind of sad. Now, this would be an emotional scene, you know, if the show actually took itself seriously, which it 204% does not. So, yeah. On to the next one. In the episode Goldfish Fingers, we actually get to see some of the Pamplemouse's plumbing work. But even though Frankie really wants to do it, she can't, due to it being a level 5 clog. So she has to stay at home with the Zhu Zhus. So probably Pipsqueak, you know, because she's the queen of horrible ideas, gets one where they would fake a leak so that Frankie could fix it. This results in the house actually getting flooded, and a freaking goldfish gets it's way too big, which, even though, yes, fish do adapt to their environment by getting bigger, that doesn't happen automatically. So, yeah, this episode is actually kind of funny, but it does mention stuff about Frankie only being a hamster Zuzu plumber, not like a real plumber, you know, so yeah, I hope next episode we actually get more backstory about some of one of Frankie's other hobbies. Maybe like, I don't know, skateboarding or something. Oh, hey, look, it's a skateboarding episode. Now, Skate Celebrity is the episode where Frankie's a professional skateboarder, or at least professional enough to get on TV, and this may be an episode where I don't like Chunk. Chunk really wants Frankie to look good since, you know, she's gonna be on the news. But I think he might have got a little bit overboard with it. And, you know, this still isn't entirely Chunk's fault. Pipsqueak is never gonna be let off the hook here. I mean, come on, she even looks like a Karen. Because he could have just said, I don't know if I want to help you, Chunk, you know. This idea might sound a little bad. But, you know, she's just like, okay. It's like, she doesn't even care, to be honest, in this whole show. And also, Chunk does it way too overboard, causing Frankie to actually break her board because what she's wearing is too heavy because of all the fashion. So yeah, Chunk, you failed this episode. I'm very sorry. Now these next two episodes, I was debating on either choosing one or the other, but hey, since I like video length, might as well make both episodes. And then we'll move on to this 2 of the set. Now, in the no kart race, which this is a okay episode, Polly, or Frankie, for the dub here, gets too sick to go in the go-kart race she wanted to compete in, but the hamsters try to do everything to make it better. And the zoos themselves decide to race for her, I guess, yeah. Which, I don't know how they could drive a car, but hey, if they could fly a castle, I don't care, man. It's a cartoon. I don't care enough to go over zoo lore. That's basically what I'm doing. And also, you should never pause a episode of the Zuzus. It just looks weird. Now, the next episode I decided to cover, and the last of disc 1, is named Supergirl. And this one, Frankie wants to be a part of the MCU. Yeah, but let's talk more about the episode, because I haven't been talking much about the previous few episodes. And then we can get into this too, but let's see here. Of course, Frankie needs a super villain to battle her. So, the Zuzus come up with an idea. Well, mostly Pipsqueak, so you know it's probably gonna fail. Also, this will probably be the budget of most Marvel movies if Disney keeps going the way it does. And anyway, the other zoos besides Pipsqueak dress up as villains, including Arachna Girl, Count Chunkula, and Suspender Man. Just like, I didn't think they like being called people, especially since they corrected Frankie on it just episodes earlier. Now they're using terms like man and woman. What is this lore? Also gotta mention that this is probably one of the last Canadian cartoons to be animated in Flash, especially since Flash died in 2020. And yeah, it did provide the smoothest animation, but at least it's better than what you find on later seasons of Johnny Test or any other show I use it, to be honest, except for Total Drama. But even then, some animation errors could occur. And basically, what this episode is basically just playing with the Zhu Zhus, because Frankie's bored, which I feel like that'll be a theme of some of these episodes. But now on to Disc 2. Oh yeah, and I mentioned some of these episodes were based off of movie titles. First off, Zoo Year's Eve. Now, this episode sees Frankie basically talking about how cool New Year's is, and she basically takes a nap. Yeah, this Zoo's playing activities, but she needs to take a nap, and you know what, I don't care about this episode to properly review it. New Year's is pretty boring unless you live in New York, where it actually is freaking crazy, so yeah, we're on to the next episode, which is Lookies for Cookies. Now, I'm sorry these episodes don't really sound entertaining, but I mean, what can you expect of the Zhu Zhus, really? Were you expecting a freaking Titanic-like show? No, you weren't. And I don't think anyone should, unless they're insane. And also, those images are getting boring. So you know what? You don't even care enough to see them. It's definitely not because of copyright. Anyway, this treasure hunt basically sees the zoos throw a treasure hunt for Frankie because she wants to do a treasure hunt because her parents are too busy. So, yeah, they do have cookies, and I'm not even gonna pretend like this one sounds interesting. I try to make Supergirl sound interesting, but don't worry, there's a sequel to Supergirl, or Supergirl, or how do you even pronounce it anyway? Yeah, there is an episode like that, and that's gonna be done soon. Alrighty, I'm in a much better mood now, so let's do Wuthering Heights next. And, yeah, this one's definitely an episode. Now, this episode starts off with the zoos playing hopscotch, and for some reason, Chunk gets a phone out of the Pamplemouse's pipe splitter thing. I don't know, plumbing. Yeah, then the mom calls and tells them there's gonna be a storm that knocks out the power, which that sucks. Now am I supposed to watch PS2 games? Oh yeah, and the parents also leave them a storm survival kit, which is just items you could get at CVS. Apparently, Chunk again and freaking Pip Squeak say that survival kit's not good enough. So then they make a higher quality one with higher quality items you can find at CVS. And apparently that kit wasn't even good enough for them. So then they go out to the store to buy more supplies. And some of the episodes where they feature characters other than Frankie, they just make the other characters one shade of color. And that's it. Like, I know for, like, main characters they don't do that, but, like, how cheap were you? And I mean, really, then customers start panicking, and this is the part where I have a problem, because they give the blue customers panics, but yet the one they actually bother to color in doesn't even say a word. Like, how weird was the budget where you could afford to color a character or voice them, but not both? This is an even worse budget than Thanksgiving, probably. And this is on Disney Channel, so that's probably not a good excuse. Really, this is just supposed to be an episode about, like, managing your expectations. But really, it's just an episode where Pipsqueak keeps thinking about all these emergency situations. I get Num Nums does that, But even Frankie disregards him until Pipsqueak says like, we actually like need to prepare. So I can't even bother with this episode anymore. And you know I said there was a sequel to Supergirl? Well, that's the episode we're talking about next. Trashing of Supergirl. And now we get to the trashing of Supergirl. Which, yeah. Starts off Frankie and the hamsters. Who now have different personalities instead of heroes or villains. Are just doing Supergirl stuff, I guess. Oh yeah, did I mention there was villains in this series? A janitor and this girl, I think her name's Nicole or something. Those are the two villains you're gonna get in the show. And the janitor wasn't even in any of the episodes I covered, so yeah, that's funny. Then Frankie gets a good idea to clean up the park as a superhero. Yeah, it's one of those episodes. Listen, I get environmental like PSA episodes, but you don't need to put it in this show where all I'm gonna be thinking about is how much I want to watch a different show. Because this was standard like the 80s and 90s, but you don't need to do this today. Yeah, that's my review on this episode. It's so boring, it's making me cough. Now it's time for Jurassic Park, where this isn't the first episode where Frankie goes to school, but it's the first one we're talking about where her school is shown. And she learns about dinosaurs at the beginning, which is great. Yeah, all this episode is basically like the Zhu Zhus tale of like prehistoric times where hamsters are bigger than humans. So yeah, it's the episode. I don't even have funny images for this one. And we get hamster a la carte, which is basically no kart race. So yeah, this is kind of redundant. So it's just no kart race, but this time Frankie's not sick. So yeah, that's it. We only have 2 more episodes left, and they're both double length. So this will be fun. So, this Prankster's Paradise episode is a double length episode, and the first double length in this whole series. It only took 22 episodes to finally get one. So anyway, Frankie's hosting an end of the school year party because of her A in math and science. That's cool, I guess. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention the other 2 antagonists, Chili and Bean, which are Chunk's cousins, and Chunk's aunt sends them because she's going to New Zealand, which apparently Mr. Squiggles does not know what that is, despite being a science expert, but he forgets to test all his inventions anyway. And yeah, they're pranksters. So basically your average YouTube vlogger. And they only appeared in this one episode. I assumed they would have more episodes, but yet the show never got a season 2, so yeah, I guess not. And since this is a double length episode, the writers actually bothered to put a decent story in it with 2 plots. Plot A is Frankie's party, and plot B is Dad wants to be in the party. But I guess there's also a plot C where the pranksters are at the house. Yeah, there's actually 3 plots, so a bit of a mouthful, but hey, it is double length. The pranksters decide to ruin the party, so yep, there's that episode, and sorry there's not much to talk about once again, because it is double length. Apparently, a 22-minute episode doesn't work when it's just in length an 11-minute episode. So yeah, that's the episode. Now let's get on to the final episode, because oh boy, is it a finale. Yeah, did I mention one of the hamsters is voiced by Owen from Total Drama? Yeah, now on to the final episode. Yeah, this is the episode where the Zoorifics come into town, which are apparently a hamster band. So you're telling me not only do these hamsters have freaking personalities and voices, but they also have jobs? Does he have a retirement plan? What's next? These hamsters have offspring that allow them to leech off the parents' will. What are hamsters even capable of? Can a hamster drive a car? We've already seen them drive cars before. Does a hamster need a driver's license? Or does a hamster need can a hamster get a pilot license? Or what even is this? I'm thinking too hard. It's the freaking Zhu Zhus. Anyway, about the actual episode itself, it's nothing too special. This episode is actually just that generic rock band episode. I mean, Mighty Men has this. Freaking Mighty Men. If I did live action shows on the show, Mighty Men would definitely be on here, but I guess I might gotta make a new series for that if I want to do that. Because most live action shows are not good. But yeah, this is kind of a unfortunate way to end up the Zhu Zhus, but hey, at least the show was okay in some episodes. And it was actually kind of funny to see what Chunk was doing, but you know, this series isn't as good as I remember. But hey, I can at least put it on the IMDb scale of quality. But next time, we'll be looking at a different group of animals. Some may say they're a little twisted, and some even have whiskers. So anyway, see you on that, and bye. Okay, bye.